5 versus 5. We will finish it maybe in this week with big surprise, and then let's see the result about this fight and the result of the big fight 21 of December, Usyk Tyson.
Okay, so you got a lot of big plans.
Yeah.
This is another level. This is a really dangerous. He ain't fighting a granddad. He isn't fighting a grandfather. It's absolute lunacy. It's insane.
You, Alan, about AJ fighting Jake Paul, if I'm honest. Yeah. It's definitely a fight that we are talking about. It's definitely a fight that is fairly...
Like I say, I hope Jake Paul is mad enough and he picks Anthony Joshua, you know, because I don't think he's that.
Turki Alalshikh has confirmed that the Anthony Joshua versus Jake Paul fight is happening. This comes after Jake Paul's fight with Gervonta Davis was cancelled because of allegations against Davis. Now, Anthony Joshua will step in for a big heavyweight match, and fans are excited to see him take on Jake Paul in the ring. Duke McKenzie thinks this is a very risky fight because Jake Paul, who's much smaller, is facing a trained athlete who weighs 18 stone. He believes Jake Paul hasn't earned the right to fight Anthony Joshua yet, since he hasn't beaten any top heavyweights.
Right, I don't believe to fight Anthony Joshua. It's not like he's beaten, 4 or 5, top line heavyweights, other heavyweights. I don't believe he's boxing.
Eddie Hearn warns that Anthony Joshua fighting Jake Paul is very dangerous. He says AJ could easily knock Jake Paul out, and this is not something a typical cruiserweight would have to deal with. The risk is real, and this fight is a huge challenge for Jake Paul.
But I said to Jake Paul, you ain't in a box, mate, and this ain't David Blaine. I said, so just be careful, because AJ will take your head clean off your shoulders, and it's dangerous.
Yeah.
And you take on that responsibility, and we all have to. So we got to think about that. But this is Anthony fighting a top 50 cruiserweight in the world. It's not something that we would.
Tony Bellew calls the fight a huge mismatch and warns that Jake Paul's health is at risk. He says it's crazy that money is being prioritized over safety, and this fight is a dangerous gamble. Anthony Joshua has the power and experience to completely dominate.
It's just a gross mismatch.
Yeah.
Like, you don't understand his health is in jeopardy. So, I'm not even entertaining it. I just think it's dangerous. And listen, I might have to work it, but it's just...
It's kind of ludicrous, isn't it, really?
It's insane. This boy is nuts. He's nuts, and I think he's putting his life before he's putting his life.
Derek Chisora warns that Anthony Joshua needs to finish Jake Paul quickly, or he could face serious problems. He says AJ has the skill and power to end the fight within 3 rounds. Jake Paul is no match for Joshua's experience and knockout ability.
But I will say this to AJ, don't let that guy knock you out, because that will be fucking nightmares forever. But 1 or 2, put it this way, AJ has to kill him.
Spencer Oliver says Anthony Joshua sees the fight with Jake Paul as an easy way to make money. He admits that fans might not like the idea, but Joshua is focused on prize fighting and the financial reward. At this point in his career, it might not be needed, but Joshua's intentions are clear.
Well, Anthony Joshua is talking about wanting warm-up fights before going into bigger fights, but look, it's prize fighting at the end of the day, and the way that Joshua will see it, and Matchroom and all the team, the fans won't like this, by the way. But
I don't like it
No,
either.
I don't like it either. But the way that Joshua will see it is as a money grab. He'll see it as an easy money grab, but at this stage of his career, is it a fight he should be taking?
Johnny Nelson says that if he were in Anthony Joshua's shoes, he'd fight Jake Paul for the money. He acknowledges the fight may not be serious in terms of competition, but points out that Jake Paul has done a great job building hype. Joshua gets both the challenge and the reward from this fight.
If I was at this stage of his career, I'd take Jake Paul. I'd take Jake Paul because there's more money there. If it was real, I don't think it's real. I think it's bullshit. I think Jake Paul I think it's...
Tyson Fury believes Jake Paul could knock Anthony Joshua out and calls AJ a spent force. He thinks Jake Paul is improving and is impressed with his new heavyweight look. However, Fury also acknowledges that Joshua's experience and power shouldn't be underestimated. While Fury's opinion adds drama, the reality is that Joshua has faced top heavyweights, and his skills are far better than anything Jake Paul has shown. This fight is a big risk for Jake Paul, and fans expect Anthony Joshua to dominate, despite Fury's bold statements.
I don't know about chewing up. I think Jake Paul knocks him out.
Seriously?
wrestling?
Yeah.
Why so? What impresses you about Jake Paul?
I just think Jake Paul would knock AJ out. I think AJ's a spent force, and I think Jake Paul's on the rise. I like his new heavyweight look.
Simon Jordan says he wants to see Anthony Joshua knock Jake Paul out decisively, even joking that he could send him into the next movie. He admits the fight may not be very important for Joshua and that is probably focused on bigger names like Tyson Fury. Joshua has the experience to make Jake Paul look like an amateur. This fight is more about entertainment and money than testing AJ's skills. Fans know Joshua can easily dominate, but the hype around Jake Paul keeps everyone talking and debating who really has the advantage.
I'd like to see him knock Jake Paul into the next belt, but in the reality of what I think it's worth, no. I mean, I am moderately interested in seeing him fight Tyson Fury because I think it's the only.
Tommy Fury is confident that Anthony Joshua would easily beat Jake Paul. He even jokes that AJ could win under any circumstances and finish the fight in under a minute. This shows Joshua's huge power and experience compared to Jake Paul's limited boxing background. Fans can see that AJ is in a completely different league. Jake Paul may have hype and publicity, but going up against a former world heavyweight champion is a challenge he's not ready for. Joshua's dominance makes this fight look one-sided.
If I can beat Jake Paul, then excuse my French, what the fuck is Anthony Joshua going to do to Jake Paul? I think my dad said that AJ could beat him with his prick, and I completely will back that up. Even if AJ had a broken arm in there, it still wouldn't go past him.
Derek Chisora says Jake Paul doesn't have the power to knock out Anthony Joshua. He warns that if things go wrong, Jake Paul could end up in an ambulance. This shows how much ahead AJ is in experience, strength, and skill. Fans can expect Joshua to control the fight and dominate every round. Jake Paul may bring hype, but Anthony Joshua is far superior and could finish the fight easily.
Whatever happened to be exciting?
Does he have the power to knock out Joshua?
Nah, he hasn't got the power to knock out Joshua.
How does that fight end?
Jake Paul going to an ambulance, bro.
Jake Paul says he likes the challenge of fighting Anthony Joshua and knows people want to see him lose. He calls AJ an insane fight but seems excited to step into the ring. Despite his confidence, fans know Joshua's experience, power, and skill make him the clear favorite. Jake Paul may have hype and social media attention, but Anthony Joshua is a seasoned former world champion who can expose every weakness. The fight will be a big spectacle, but the skill gap is clearly in Joshua's favor.
And so I like the challenge. People, that's the criticism. Fight someone in their prime who's a beast. I think people just want to see me lose. That's really what the message is behind it all. And Anthony Joshua is an insane fight, but I want that challenge. We've been DMing back and forth. He wants to make it happen.
Logan Paul says the fight seems crazy because Anthony Joshua is an elite, world-class heavyweight. He reminds everyone that Joshua knocked out Francis Ngannou, who had never been down before. Facing Jake Paul, who is a novice compared to Joshua, is unrealistic because the skill gap is huge. Logan's view shows that this fight is more about hype than a real challenge. Fans know Joshua can end fights easily, and Jake Paul stepping in is more for show. In pure boxing terms, Joshua is far beyond any threat Jake Paul could pose.
Joshua thing is crazy.
Is that a real conversation?
Jake's a fucking lunatic, and it's probably real. I saw Joshua knock out Francis Ngannou, and the guy was like out cold for 5 minutes. And this is a guy who had never been knocked down, let alone knocked out.
If he steps in the ring with him, and actually a bell rings and there are punches thrown, every bit of Jake Paul is not a real boxer conversation is gone forever.
Spencer Oliver says Anthony Joshua might treat the Jake Paul fight as a warm-up and an easy way to make money. Fans may not like it because it's more about entertainment than competition. Oliver points out that at this point in Joshua's career, he's focused on bigger challenges. This fight is a smart financial move for Joshua, but doesn't really test his abilities. Jake Paul may bring hype, but Joshua's skill and experience make him the clear favorite. It's a fight designed to entertain and take advantage of popularity, not to push AJ to his limits.
Well, Anthony Joshua was talking about wanting warm-up fights before going into bigger fights, but look, it's prize fighting at the end of the day, and the way that Joshua was here and Matchroom and all the team, the fans won't like this, by the way. But
I don't like it.
No, I don't like it either. But the way that Joshua is here is as a money grab. He'll see it as an easy money grab, but at this stage of his career, is it a fight he should be taking?
The Wade Concept confirms that Anthony Joshua and Jake Paul are finalizing a deal for a heavyweight fight on Netflix in Miami. This fight comes after Jake Paul's planned exhibition with Gervonta Davis was cancelled due to allegations against Davis. Anthony Joshua brings skill and legitimacy to the bout, while Jake Paul is there for the attention and entertainment. Fans know this is more of a spectacle than a real competitive match. The fight is being positioned as a high-profile event, with Joshua expected to dominate, making it very hard for Jake Paul to compete with a former heavyweight champion.
Anthony Joshua and Jake Paul are finalizing a deal for a heavyweight fight on Netflix In December in Miami, sources tell The Ring's Mike Coppinger. Paul steps up to fight former heavyweight champion after his exhibition with Gervonta Davis.
Showbiz emphasizes that Anthony Joshua is experienced and has faced tough challenges before. While Jake Paul has no heavyweight experience or amateur background, Joshua fighting Paul is not a risk in terms of skill, but more about spectacle and money. Jake Paul has only fought a few professionals and was defeated by Tommy Fury, showing he's far from the level of a world-class champion. Fans know this fight heavily favors Anthony Joshua, and it's unlikely Jake Paul will have a real chance to win. The bout is more about hype than true competition.
Joshua, and why would Anthony AJ Joshua take this fight in Jake Paul? Here's the thing. That shouldn't confuse you either. It ain't like Anthony AJ Joshua has never done this before. Taking on Jake Paul, who has had no heavyweight experience, no amateur background, has only fought a handful of professional boxers, one in which Tommy Fury defeated him.
The Anthony Joshua versus Jake Paul fight is one of the most talked about matchups in recent boxing history and has a lot at stake for both fighters. Anthony Joshua has everything to gain by showing that his skill, power, and experience are still unmatched, even against viral stars moving into the heavyweight division. A win for Joshua would prove he is still a dominant force and silence critics about his choice of opponents. On the other hand, if Jake Paul somehow pulls off a win, it would be a historic upset and make him globally famous. But it would take an almost impossible performance to match Joshua's elite level. Mentally, Joshua is stronger, hungrier, and more disciplined, and he clearly wants this fight to show his dominance. Fans now have to decide who they support. Join the conversation by commenting your predictions. Are you backing Anthony Joshua, or do you think Jake Paul will pull off the upset?